It's the battle of two world-class players pitted against each other. Shakhriyar Mamedyarov takes on Arjun Erigaisi and brings out his knight to f3. Arjun also brings his knight out in the opening. We are at the Gashimov Memorial. It's a rapid event of 9 rounds and this is the third round. Pawn to c4 by Shakhriyar. And what is Arjun going to play? He plays e6 and perhaps he's going for the very solid setup with d4. e3 played by Mamedyarov, and recently you will see this trend where white is not going for a quick d4, keeps his pawn on d2, is flexible with moves like b3 as Shakh plays here, bishop b2, bring out your knight, and only at the right moment convert it into d4 opening. Now Arjun plays his bishop out to d6, bishop comes to the long diagonal and black quickly castles it out. Will Mamedyarov play d4? Not yet. He plays his knight to c3 and Arjun now can go c5. It's a possibility, but he goes c6. Very solid, and now the center is very strong, but at some point Arjun is planning to go e5. Maybe not. Now it's not the best time because after take there is knight b5 hitting the bishop and this pawn. So perhaps first you need to prepare it, and that's exactly what Arjun is doing. He is playing rook to e8 to keep more control over the e5 square. What is Mamedyarov going to do? He plays his queen to c2. And once again, e5 definitely something to think about. Maybe you have to part away with your bishop pair here in this case. But it's a playable position. It's something that you can play. And will Arjun go e5 is the question. He takes his time and takes on c4. He takes this pawn and Shakhriyar instantly takes back the pawn with his bishop. So for the time being, white has developed all his pieces. Arjun has lack of space and also plays knight bd7. But now, do you castle short? Do you play d4 or this wacky idea of long castle? You know, this position does seem like something that Mamedyarov might enjoy. g4. He pushes his pawn down the board, and this is a very typical idea. If you take this pawn, then rook g1, along with the knight coming here, unleashing things would be very dangerous. So Arjun goes b5, counter-attacking and hitting the bishop, which is the right ploy right now, because otherwise he could come under big attack. Bishop d3 is not the best move. Bishop e2 was much better. And now Arjun goes knight c5, attacking this bishop once again. g5 played by Mamedyarov. If you move the knight, h7 pawn is hanging, but Arjun has it all figured out. He's going to take on d3 with a check. He has 10 minutes on the clock. Shakh has 12 minutes 30 seconds. So take this bishop with a check. That's exactly what he does. Queen takes on d3 and now you can move the knight. The knight moves to the center. One problem for black, of course, is this bishop on c8. It's passive and not coming into the game, and this is what Arjun has to resolve. But on the other hand, after eliminating the bishop here, which was on the long diagonal, white's attacking chances have definitely reduced. He takes the knight, pawn takes, and now Arjun would be very happy if Mamedyarov takes this, because rook b8, bishop a6 can be a lot of counterplay. So he goes rook g1, which is a nice move, keeping control of this pawn. And now e5 could be an idea with the idea of e4. Let's see what Arjun plays. He has 6 minutes 40 seconds. Mamedyarov has 9 minutes 49 seconds, and Arjun goes b4. And one can understand what Arjun wants to do. Maybe he wants to play a5 and then unleash this bishop on this diagonal. And white's light squares, if you see, are weak. So if that bishop comes into the game, it can be very dangerous. But Mamedyarov has only one thing on his mind: h5, g6, open up lines against the king, because the bishop and the rook are staring at the black king in the position. What does Arjun do next? He plays his bishop back to c7. And now the question is, what do you do? He goes knight to e5. puts his knight in the center of the board, and Arjun takes. He takes this, bishop takes, and you will see that the white bishop is way superior to the black bishop here on c8. He plays his queen to b6, and now the idea is to play a5, bishop a6, and try to unleash this attack. Queen comes back to e2, and Arjun Erigaisi thinking here. He plays his bishop to a6, and the pawn comes to d3. Rook can come in and attack here, but okay, this square is defended by the bishop. Arjun anyway takes the open file. So while white has the active bishop here on e5 and pawn to h5 with the idea of g6, what Arjun has is basically good pieces and perhaps a safer king for some time. And look at this beautiful pawn sacrifice by him. If you take here, he wants to go queen b5, put pressure here, push his e pawn down the board. That's his idea. That's why Shakhriyar takes here with the pawn. But now you can see that this has been closed, the diagonal has been shut, and Arjun can actually enter the position with rook to c3. That's exactly what he does. He puts pressure on the d3 pawn. Mamedyarov instantly defends it with rook d1. And now how is Arjun going to continue here is the question. Because whenever white goes g6, black can actually play f takes, h takes, and g6, keeping things closed. So queen c6 played, and now the queen comes up to e3. Maybe you want to block here, but that might not be something that that Arjun might want to do to put the queen there. He triples. He triples down the c file, and maybe if you get a chance to trade off the rooks, then the attack is all over. Mamedyarov goes in. He's still very confident about his chances. He wants to open up the path to the black king, and Arjun must remain very, very careful. He takes there, and now if he takes here, this would be not so good because there's a check here and black is better, but Arjun just keeps it closed. He plays h6, and Mamedyarov now sacrifices a pawn in the center. He opens up the bishop. Pawn takes. If you take here, then b takes c3. The c pawn is extremely strong. Rook e8 is coming in, so of course Arjun can't take it, but queen a7 played. It might seem like a side pawn, but mate in one is threatened here with the bishop and queen, so Arjun has to be careful. He can't play rook c7, bishop takes it, so that's the reason why he plays his bishop back to b7. It seems like white is in the driver's seat. He can take here the rook, but it doesn't feel safe. After the bishop takes rook, pawn takes, the pawn looks very, very strong. So here Mamedyarov with 2 minutes on the clock plays queen d4, which is a fine move, but Arjun now is doing well. The g7 pawn is under attack, but the next move is fantastic. Rook c1 played, and the idea is to take here to give a check and win the rook here. So Arjun creating so much of counterplay here. Mamedyarov needs to think how to face it. King e2 seems like the best move in the position, and he finds it. Well done, Shakhriyar. That was an important move, because now if you give a check with your queen, I just simply block it with my rook. So first Arjun takes, rook takes on d1, takes the pawn. So now the material has been equalized. Whose king is weaker? Is it Shakh's king on e2, or is it Arjun's king on g8? For the time being, we do not know. King d2 played. Arjun has 20 seconds, Shakhriyar has 24 seconds. This can go either way. King d2, the idea is to maybe safeguard the king there on b2. He also defends the pawn, queen g5 check, and now bishop f4 played to prevent checks. Queen goes back, and now maybe Mamedyarov might be happy to repeat. But yeah, he plays bishop e5. Will Arjun also repeat? I think Arjun should be okay now. But I guess he wants to continue. That's the killer spirit one needs to become a top player in the world. King h7 played. And now Shakhriyar pushes the pawn to f4. How should black activate the bishop is a question. His bishop is not so well placed. But first things first, rook is activated. And after queen 3, Arjun moves in with his queen to h4, looking at the white king side. With just 20 seconds left, anything can happen. Queen e2 played to block certain types of check. But can Arjun find this move? d4, he finds it. Fantastic pawn sacrifice. The point is, if you take here, he wants to take on a4, f4, and also it opens up this bishop. It gives it a new life. And f5 played, just trying to sort of scare his opponent, but Arjun is not someone to get scared easily. He plays queen g5 check, king c2, and now yes, Arjun takes the pawn on f5 and Shakh takes the pawn on d4. Clearly it feels black king is much safer than the white king, and now queen d7 played. Perhaps not the best move, but not at all bad. Shakh plays his queen to f2, and now the rook can be brought into the game. Yeah, the rook comes in and attacks the bishop and the d3 pawn. The bishop moves forward. Is Shakhriyar giving up this very crucial pawn? Yes, he is. He takes here, and now he played rook g1, bishop e4. What a classy move. Queen f4. You can see that if Mamedyarov had taken here, Arjun had prepared this, and check. So after queen f4, he plays check, king here, and now rook c2 check, king b1. There's going to be a deadly discovered check. No, Arjun plays it back. What a great move, because if you play here, there's a mate coming in. So he plays it back, king a1, but this is the end of the game. Arjun is going to sacrifice his rook. He's just thinking for the last 20 seconds. Sacks his rook on a2. Tremendous chess. King takes a2, and now check, king here, and it is over. Queen a3 is checkmate. Arjun Erigaisi has beaten Shakhriyar Mamedyarov with some fantastic moves.